My name is Dennis. Welcome to the Food and Beverage Purchasing Doc. Today we're going to talk a little bit about shrimp. And one aspect of buying shrimp that maybe some folks don't understand or don't know is that all shrimp basically is pumped. And what that means is it's soaked in a tripolyphosphate solution and it adds weight. It's as simple as that. You know, they say, well, it's to help maintain the moisture, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, from a shrimp processor standpoint, it can add up to 10% of the weight to the product. And you know what you're paying for shrimp. So that could be easily 50 cents a pound if you're buying let's take like a, 26.30, 36.40, that kind of thing. And that's all profit for them that goes right to the net line. And you're probably going to say, well, what can I do about it? And unfortunately, the answer is just about nothing. That's just the way seafood is processed. And matter of fact, here's a package that I bought retail from our local grocer. And it shows that right there, that besides other chemicals that this particular retail product was soaked in, it says to preserve the moisture. What they don't say is how much moisture. That's another part of the game as well, tell you the truth. But unless, like, I'm here in South Texas, so it's not unusual for, like, up north, you guys in New York especially have soubrette trucks, which I miss dearly, by the way, exit 61 on the expressway, but I digress. Here in Houston, it's not unusual to see a shrimp truck. And what it is, these guys literally buy right off the boats, and this product is head-on, full animal. It's not dressed at all. So, again, you're paying a decent amount for it, but then it's up to you to clean it heads off and peel and devein or whatever. But it's pretty well unadulterated product. So it's really about the only way that you're going to be able to buy shrimp in any market, basically, without it being pumped. So you might say, well, where the heck's the government in this? So when it comes to seafood in general, seafood is regulated by the FDA. All of beef is regulated by the USDA. Now, when USDA does an inspection of beef, for instance, it protects the consumer from not just the wholesomeness of the product, but bait and switch. So you should feel comfortable that when you're buying beef, it's like being identified of the grade, but it's also being identified of the species. In other words, you know what you're getting. In the context of the FDA inspection, here I'll read this, what I got online. Seafood in the United States is subject to the requirements of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, administered by the Food and the Food and Drug Administration. Under the FDA's mandatory fish inspection program and voluntary quality inspection programs, the vast majority of seafood in the marketplace is safe to eat. Well, I don't know about you, but that doesn't fill me with the warm and fuzzies. But that's really where we are in regards to government inspection. A few months ago, I was at a Gordon Food Service food show. Gordon is a preferred vendor for our consultants company, ProBot. And I was reviewing a lot of the different proteins that they offer in regards to some primal beef, of course. I deal with a lot of country clubs, so it's not unusual for lamb and veal to find itself on the menu. So I was very in tune with trying to check out their different levels of protein. And while I was there, I was looking over the shrimp and checking the sourcing and what part of the world and wherever they're bringing in their different products, whether it's tiger, white, pink, or whatever. And I ran across a product that really fits for this particular video. I was very impressed to see that there are sources on the planet that are recognizing that the tripolyphosphate is not necessarily, if people knew what was in their shrimp, a lot of folk wouldn't necessarily feel good about that level of chemical in their, especially even in a farm-raised product. Okay, so it's not just you buy wild and you get, phosphate free or chemical free, because they're treated after the fact. So it doesn't matter if it's wild or farm raised. You're going to see some kind of soaking going on. But with this particular source that Gordon was bringing in, it's called a phosphate-free shrimp. What they do, it's soaked in a sodium bicarbonate. So it's like baking soda. All right, now soak, it's still done. It's soaked, okay? But what I like about it is the fact that they use a baking soda formula for the soak and not tripolyphosphate. It's got a more clean taste than a tripoly product. It's got actually, the way it reacts with the flesh is less aggressive. So it actually has a little different bite to it. And finally, a tripoly, the way again it reacts with the flesh, opposed to a tripoly, is that it does actually affect the moisture level, and it won't lose the soak as much. So when you put it in a hot pan, and you could take a single shrimp and throw it in a hot saute pan and just watch it shrink before your eyes. This particular product will just honestly shrink less. Will it shrink? Absolutely. Every one of them will. This will shrink, a little bit less. And what I also like is they advertise the level of soak. They won't soak the product past its normal moisture of 82%. So again, you get more of what you're paying for. A little more background on this product. The product is farm raised in India, and it's available at Gordon's in just P&D raw IQF. It's available tail on from 13 to 30 count in 5 different sizes. It's available tail off 26 count to 90 count in 4 different sizes. Here's a list of the product with the Gordon numbers. So if by chance you're a Gordon customer, you can look up your pricing on that particular product. It seems competitive amongst all the other products that they offer, tell you the truth. So I don't think price is going to be an issue. It certainly may be a product you'll want to try and see if it works for your organization. And finally, here's a list of or you might even want to consider doing a print screen. This particular document shows all the different shrimp that Gordon carries, where the sources are, and also the species names, if you ever want to relate to that. So, well, that's pretty much our little educational video for this week. Right now, we're going to do our little Let's Get Personal segment, and we hope you enjoyed the video, and we look forward to you subscribing and clicking that like button. Thank you. Talk soon. Welcome to this week's Let's Get Personal. This one is, again, something that just worked for me. I don't know if it's something that would work for everyone, but when I was a staff member, to tell you the truth, one of the things I always hated was going to employee meetings. It just seemed like it ended up, well, it depends on which way it was handled. It was either ended up being a one-way deal where the manager, corporate person, whoever would stand up there and basically just dictate what they expected from me, and how things were going to go, and this is what has to be, and so on and so on. Now, again, every corporate structure or even a individual owner structure, there needs to be rules and regulations and procedures, whether it's scheduling or, swapping shifts. And, there's all that housekeeping stuff that needs to be kept in tune. And honestly, of course, whether it's boring or not, that's something that just has to happen. But then there were the other kind of meetings where it ended up becoming, and excuse my vernacular here, but just a bitch session, where staff, well, I don't like this, and how come I can't work? I'm always working Friday nights, and that one gets a better shift, and that one gets a better station than I do, and blah, 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 blah. And that to me was even more boring, to be honest with you. I just didn't think it was the right forum. So I decided that when I got into management, that I really was going to try to do something different. And what I decided to do is, again, it's not saying I never had meetings, because I did. But to me, it was, I wanted people to talk to me and not wait for a meeting. They're standing on their soapbox just barraging why their shifts stink or whatever. Okay, so what I decided to do is what I call downtime, and talk to my people, and not formally. Like, for instance, here, and you know what it's like. It's for lunch, for instance. Let's say, it's 11 o'clock. People are starting to come in, but all the staff is there just waiting for their stations to fill up, and they're just hanging out, talking. Where I'd walk up and, we'd be talking, whatever, and I'd pull one of them aside and say, what's going on? How you doing? How's school? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And they would tell me a little bit about school or, whatever. And that's the time when hopefully, I'd say, anything going on? How's your schedule? Are you enjoying what your schedule is? And how does it fit? Whatever. And if you think about it, if you do that every day, you're doing two things. You're fostering within your staff that, what, Dennis is somebody I think I could talk to. And matter of fact, I used to even tell them that. Say, by the way, this maybe isn't the right forum, but if you ever just feel like things aren't going the way you would like, come talk to me. You may not like the answer. I'm not going to say, that I always got the answers, but at least I want you to know that I really do want to hear what you have to say. And when you do that enough and that's what I call downtime. If you do that enough, meetings don't end up being that bitch session. Meetings can end up being housekeeping stuff, of course. But you know what it is? It's more a rehash that, like, for instance, I go up to the team, right before lunch and say, what, guys, here's what I'd like to work on today. I'd really like to make sure no customer asks for a refill of tea. Let's see if we can make sure nobody asks for a refill. Now, if you get busy, I'm there. Tell me, Dennis, do me a favor, table 22. They're looking for, they're going to ask for tea. I'll make sure I run there to bail you out, and I'll do it, okay? If they need somebody asking for coffee and you're busy, tell me. I'll go bring them a cup of coffee. Whatever. I'm there to support you. But let's today practice that nobody's going to ask for a refill of tea. It fosters a level of, first of all, manager's involvement. Because when I'm bringing the tea, that's why I'm there to do a table visit. I hate it when a manager walks up and goes, well, how's everything going today? Well, you know what? It better be going good, okay? I don't need you. I look at it this way. That's the time to go up, and I used to say to somebody, I noticed you had that chicken fried steak today. What'd you think? I'm curious, because I'm getting a lot of compliments on it, but hey, maybe we're doing something. You're starting a conversation differently. You don't have to ask them about their personal life for crying out loud, but you can ask them about what they thought specifically about what they just had to eat. You know what? That's enough for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you can, go ahead and click that like button, and hopefully you'll subscribe. But hey, we'll talk again next time. Thank you.